So one day at the butcher shop, in strolls a dog carrying a purse in its mouth. What they do? The dog strolls up to the counter confidently. It's on a mission. The butcher looks up from what he's doing. He kind of laughs when he sees the dog and says, "But what are you in here for? You want to buy some meat?" Did this dog just respond to me? Are you here for some sausage, some chicken, some steaks? This is about the first time, by the way, that my church has heard me bark, so the butcher asked the dog, "Well, how many steaks do you want? 1, 3, 5? So the butcher sells the dog 5 steaks, and off trots the dog. But the butcher can't help his curiosity, and he follows the dog, like you do when Lassie has been to the butcher shop to get some prime rib. So the dog goes down the street and enters an apartment building. And it goes up 3 flights of stairs. It gets over to a door and starts scratching on the door. The butcher is watching all of this. And as it scratches on the door, the owner of the dog flings open the door. He starts yelling and cursing. He's berating the dog. "This dog is so stupid. I can't believe it." The butcher's watching this. "How could you say that? This is the smartest dog I've ever seen. It's got to be the smartest dog in the whole world." And the owner says, "Well, if that's the case, why is this the 3rd time this week he's forgot his key?" The man in our story didn't appreciate what he had. And my question to you this evening is, do you appreciate what you have? Now, ladies, I know some of you might say, "Well, I had a mangy month following me around, and I guess I appreciate him because I'm married, man." But, ladies and gentlemen, are you really thankful? It's not a trait that we cherish as much as we used to. In fact, in our culture today, we have developed this sort of art to complaining. I read these comments on the internet sometimes, the things that people complain about, and it cracks me up. I can't help but laugh. I have a few of those for you. One lady posted, "I have a paper cut on my iPad finger. Every tweet is agony, but I persist bravely." One person posted, "My wallet is too small." It's a good complaint to have, isn't it? And my favorite is when your cookie is too big to dunk in your milk glass. Oh, agony, that. It's easier to complain than to show gratitude, isn't it? It's far too easy to lose sight of all that God has done for us. Instead, we might complain even about our blessings. My cookie's too big. My smartphone is too slow. I pay good money for this Netflix or Hulu or this premium cable service, and I still have to watch a commercial. It reminds me of the people of Israel as they were wandering through on the way to the Promised Land. They were wandering in the desert for 40 years on the way to the Promised Land, and God delivered them food. He delivered them manna from heaven, food that they didn't have to go hunt, food that they didn't have to plant in an arid desert, and yet they continuously complain about it. We're so sick of this free food delivered to us by the hand of God. We're so sick of it. Now, I'll say to my people who just heard me talk about that a couple weeks ago in church, don't worry, I'm not bringing to you Thanksgiving leftovers. Today, instead, we're going to look at Luke 17, 11 through 19. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance. Now, before we go further, what exactly is leprosy? Now, leprosy was, and it still exists in some parts of the world, a terrible flesh-eating disease. But it doesn't just stop skin deep. No, it gets into your muscles, into your bones. People can lose fingers and toes. Their nerve endings start to die. So not only are you losing parts of your body, you can feel it, you can feel the agony, but as your nerve endings die, then it is easier for you to hurt yourself. So you don't know that you burned your hand. You don't know that you cut yourself. You don't know what is happening to you. So not only is your body continuously breaking down, but it is easier for it to continue to break down even more. It's this awful cycle. So the disease is highly contagious and it's transmitted by touch. So there were strict laws regarding lepers, as they were called. And it will stop right there. These people who had the worst disease in their time were referred to as lepers. In other words, they were identified by their disease, by society. You were no longer Tom or Bill or Sally, you're a leper. So you had to get away from everybody immediately. As soon as it was discovered you had this disease, say goodbye to your family. And by say goodbye, I don't mean give goodbye hugs and goodbye kisses. I don't mean go home and pack a bag for where you're going to live. No, you're not going to work tomorrow. Your next destination is the streets. And you're going to beg for food, for mercy, from anybody who will give it to you. But it's not like they can just hand it to you in your hand. No, imagine you're not only out crying and announcing your presence, as was required by law, you had to announce your presence so people wouldn't come near you, but you're begging for food and hoping that someone across the street might lay down something so that when they leave, you can scurry across the street and get it and then go back at some distance away from people. What kind of life was that? So people who had leprosy, the lepers, they tended to gather together. They probably wouldn't want to get each other sick, and they had what each other had, and they would kind of band together to have some kind of support, some kind of society amongst them. So, again, these people had to shout from a distance to announce their coming and to beg for food. That's probably why the 10 men in our story are outside the gate. They were probably accustomed to wait for people to travel to and from town. So they're standing outside the gate hoping somebody will show them some kind of mercy. And then who's this? As they're standing at the gate, who is this they see from a distance? Hey, look, so the guy amongst us with the best eyesight left. Who is that? Well, I think it's Jesus. It's that man that they talk about, Jesus. He heals people. Well, shout out to him. Well, I'm losing my voice. The best voice amongst us. Shout out to him. Get his attention. Call him over here. This is that Jesus that heals people. He has this reputation that precedes him. In Matthew 8:4, we have another instance of Jesus with a leper, where he actually reaches out and touches the leper. This person who hadn't had any kind of human contact or touch, people don't draw near him, and yet this God draws near to anybody, any and all. And he draws near. He's not afraid. He draws near and he touches this leper and heals him. It says, go and show yourself to the priest. So this Jesus who heals, here he comes. And the lepers are ecstatic. They're crying out, maybe this Jesus will do something for them. So what do these 10 men do when they're confronted with encountering the Savior? In our next verse, and called out in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. When he saw them, he said, go show yourself to the priest. And as they went, they were cleansed. Now, back in those days, the priest had several functions. They were the priest, but they were also a sort of physician. So, aside from worship and sacrifices, the priest was responsible for verifying if you had somehow been cleansed by your infirmity. So, if you were sick, if you had some kind of skin condition like leprosy, if you had somehow been miraculously healed, you couldn't just say, I'm healed, I'm good. No, that's not enough. You've got to go to the priest first. The priest has to examine you and clear you. So the priest kind of dealt with it as the person who cleared that a miracle had happened, that you are safe to re-enter society. I don't want anybody after this going up to your priest or your pastor saying, well, you look at this rash. But back in those days, that was a function of the priest. So these 10 men, they've reached out to Jesus, not physically because they're at a distance, but by their voice, to the best of their ability, they have reached out to Jesus, the one who heals, who does miracles, the one who can touch a leper and heal him in an instant. And what does Jesus do? The Jesus who heals, when he's called out to by these people, what does Jesus do? He tells them, go and see the priest. And they go. And notice Jesus hasn't healed anybody yet. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? Jesus hasn't healed anybody yet. But he tells these lepers, go and show yourself to the priest. And they go. In faith. They go. They've shown up for a healing. They might be missing fingers or toes. We might imagine their bodies ravaged by this disease. There's a combination of parts of their body is in agony and parts of it are just numb. They need a miracle. And Jesus tells them, go have the priest look at you, to sign off on your being healed. And they have faith enough to go. Now, obviously, if they look at themselves, they might think, well, if the priest was to look at me right now, he'd say, no, you're not clear. You're not okay. Look at you. You have leprosy. It's all over you. You and all your friends. You're not clear. But, that's the way Jesus works in our lives sometimes, isn't it? You say, Jesus, I need a miracle. I need you to do some kind of healing in my life before I can proceed. Whatever it is you've asked me to do, wherever you've asked me to go, I need you to do this for me first. I need some kind of miracle, and then I'll believe, then I'll have faith, and then I'll go. And Jesus says, go. Put on your walking shoes. Start heading down the road. He wants us to proceed out in faith before he does the miracle. Jesus tells us we might be in a stalemate with God where we're not making any progress, we're not receiving any healing, to say, go, step out in faith. And then see what I do. Your miracle might be waiting for you down the road just a bit. So these men are hobbling down the road in faith. Maybe they've got one bad leg, one missing leg, but they're hobbling down, they're helping each other down the road in faith, going to the priest as Jesus told them to go. They're going out in faith. Can you imagine what kind of conversation they might have had with each other along the road? One of them turns to the other and says, how do you think Jesus is going to do this miracle? What do you think he's going to do? And the guy who hasn't been able to talk for years said, well, I've heard he can heal people from distance. Larry can talk again. You better believe Larry can talk again, and he's not going to stop talking about the healing that has happened in his life. His buddy's in shock. He can't believe it. He puts his hands over his mouth. I have fingers again. I can't believe I have fingers again. A third buddy looks at what's going on. He takes a step back, and he looks at his leg and says, well, I didn't have that yesterday. Imagine the conversation that must have been happening as these men start to discover what has happened to them, this healing. They may talk to each other and say, well, I'm healed or you healed, and compare notes. And be so excited because they're going to get to go home again. They're going to get to rejoin their families. Now, Scripture doesn't tell us explicitly that they went to the priest in their next moment, but we can assume they did because they had to go to the priest in order to be checked out so that they can re-enter society. So imagine they're looking forward to seeing their wives again. They're looking forward to seeing their children again. They're looking forward to sitting around in a circle with friends and share these stories and say, man, you're not going to believe what happened to me. I was on the brink of death when Jesus came in. They have a story to tell. And they've got to be excited about going and starting their lives again. Their lives have been put on hold. Ever since this disease has happened, everything, all of their thoughts, their dreams, their aspirations, everything's been put on hold. And now they get a chance to pick that back up again and resume their lives. But one guy out of those 10 guys, he's left standing in the road. While his friends run off excited, this one guy's standing there in the road, probably looking at his hands, looking at his body, but he just can't believe it. And all his friends are running off. They're on to the priest and get back to their lives. But this one guy says, yeah, I know I need to go to the priest, but first, I need to go to Jesus. First, I need to go back to Jesus. I need to give thanks to God for what he has done for me. Yeah. So this guy, just like all his friends, his life's been put on hold. But instead of running back over to pick it back up, he says, it can wait a little bit longer. Because I've got to go down on my knees. I've got to get down to the feet of the Master. I've got to give thanks to Jesus for what he has done for me. Verse 15, one of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him. And he was a Samaritan. Now, 1 out of 10 people give thanks to God. I hope our statistics amongst us here tonight are better than that. Amen. Because we've all been saved from something happening. Yeah. This guy in our story, he was a Samaritan. Now, why does that matter for our story? Why does it matter that he was a Samaritan? See, the Samaritans were a race of people that were formed by Jews intermarrying with pagan people, and they developed another race of people who were looked down on by the Jews. The Jews said they're half Jews. They gave them other racial slurs. They were looked down upon. They were the outsiders. That if you heard a story and a Samaritan was in it, well, the Samaritan is not the hero. The Samaritan must be the bad guy. Or the Samaritan must be the idiot in our story, but not here. Aside from Jesus, of course, the Samaritan is the hero of this story. This guy, this Samaritan, he used to have to shout out in a loud voice to let people know to stay away from him. But as he comes back, now he shouts out in a loud voice in praise to God. It reminds me of a line from a psalm. Psalm 30, verses 11 through 12, to be exact, where it says, "You turned my wailing into dancing. You removed my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my heart may sing your praises and not be silent. Lord my God, I will praise you forever." And I'm sure this guy, he's going to make his way back over to the priest eventually, but he's got some thanksgiving to do first. Verse 17, Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." Now, when Jesus healed these 10 lepers, he didn't tell them, after this is all over with, "I want you to send me a thank you card." He didn't command them to even return. But it looks like he's waiting for it, doesn't it? Could it be that we shouldn't have to be told to be thankful to God? Could it be that our natural response as a saved people should be that we want to give thanks to God? We want to fall down at His feet and say, everything else can wait. Everything else can be put on hold. I've got to give thanks to God before I go do anything else. Amen. Now, this story is from Luke's Gospel, and you might remember that Luke was a doctor. So he's actually scattered a few medical terms throughout the story. In verse 15, it says, "One of them, when he was healed." And the term healed here means to mend or to repair. These people have been mended, they've been repaired, they've been patched up. So the great physician has done surgery. My question to you tonight is, has the great physician done some surgery in your life? In your body? In your soul? In verse 17, Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed?" And the term here for cleanse is the same word we get our word catheter from. So you use a catheter to remove a blockage in an artery. It was the same term that a priest would proclaim over you to say you were cleansed, you were free from whatever your malady was. So another question for you tonight is, has your malady been removed? Has your disease been removed? Has Jesus washed away your sin? Has He cleansed your heart? In verse 19, Jesus tells the man, "Your faith has made you well." Now that term, that his faith has saved him, and some translations say your faith has saved you, that his faith has saved him was the same term that you would use when you had safely delivered a baby. Or if you had been safely delivered out of some kind of calamity. If you were away at sea and you got into a storm and you narrowly escaped, you had been delivered, you had been saved. So have you been delivered this evening? Have you been saved by God? Amen. In Matthew 1, we read, just before the Christmas story, we read Joseph's encounter with the angel before Jesus is born. And the angel tells him, "You're going to name him Jesus," which means the Lord saves. Now, he certainly does do that, doesn't he? The Lord saves. It's right in his name. So what does Jesus do in this story? He saves. What does the man do in this story? He gives gratitude. He shows faith. So when Jesus says that this man's faith has saved him, it doesn't just mean faith in anything. It doesn't just mean if you have faith in something, that you'll be saved. No. It's having faith in Jesus, having faith in the great physician. And that is what ultimately saves him. Stepping out in faith before the miracle has even happened. Yeah. I want you to think about any miracle that you ever see in the Gospels. We sometimes think of a miracle as Jesus did a miracle so that the people would believe. No, there's a lot of times when Jesus does a miracle because people already believe. There's actually a verse that says Jesus didn't do a lot of miracles in one town because of their lack of faith. So he didn't go around as a traveling circus sideshow selling snake rolls so people might believe something. No, when people already believed, then he came and did miracles. And he showed the glory to God in those miracles, but not so that people would believe. If you are in a relationship with Jesus, and I hope you are, if you're not in a relationship with Jesus, I hope you will settle that tonight with God. There's a lot of pastors here. There's somebody to talk to you. There's a lot of church people here. There's somebody to talk to. I'm pretty sure you grab that anybody, somebody can talk to you. But the power of Jesus' sacrifice that paid for our sins on the cross, there's nothing like it. We can be thankful. We might be thankful that we got a good deal on Black Friday. We can be thankful that we spent some good time with family. We can be thankful that we had some really good food and pumpkin, everything. But there is nothing like Jesus. He even says, taste and see that the Lord is good. There is nothing that fills you up like Jesus.
Amen.
There's nothing we should be more thankful for than Jesus. He saves us daily. The thing about salvation is, yes, Jesus saved me. Yes, He does save you, but He continuously saves you. I don't know about y'all. I'm clumsy, y'all. I know of a million times that I probably almost tripped over my shoelaces out in front of a car just to save me, and I don't even know it. I think Jesus saves us from things we don't even realize sometimes. So the passage that we went over tonight asks the question, what is the proper response to the God who saves you? And that proper response is to start walking in faith that He will do a miracle. Amen. And then to give Him thanks when He does. There will be time for seeing the priest. There will be time for reuniting with family. There will be time for telling the story and for picking up the life that has been put on hold. But first, we have to tell it to Jesus. Before we tell the story to anybody else, we've got to tell it to Jesus. We've got to give thanks and gratitude for Him. To know that there is constantly more and more to be grateful for in our relationship with Jesus. So I invite you every day to give thanks to God. Amen. Every day, not just on Sunday, not just on Thanksgiving, but in particular, in this season of Thanksgiving, may we return thanks to God, from whom all blessings flow. Yes, there are other great things. You're probably going to watch some good football and parades and all that kind of stuff. But there is nothing to compare with the God who saved us. Amen. We're not like those lepers. We've got that dirtiness, that disease. We might say, I don't want anybody to come near and see all the ugliness that's inside of me. But God says, I'll come near. I'll touch you. I'll heal you. Might we be the hands and feet of God, reaching out to everybody, regardless of where they've been. God showed mercy to us. And as I close, I have to say one more time, if you don't have that relationship with Jesus Christ, please settle that before you leave here tonight. Amen.
Amen.